Everyone has a moment in history which belongs particularly to him. It is the moment when his emotions achieve their most powerful sway over him. And afterward, when you say to this person, the world today, or life, or reality, you will assume that you mean this moment, even if it is 50 years past. The world, through his unleashed emotions, imprinted itself upon him, and he carries the stamp of that passing moment forever. For me, this moment was the war. The war was and is reality for me. I still instinctively live and think in its atmosphere. These are some of its characteristics. Franklin Delano Roosevelt is the President of the United States, and he always has been. The other two eternal world leaders are Winston Churchill and Joseph Stalin. America is not, never has been, and never will be what the songs and poems call it. A land of plenty. Nylon, meat, gasoline, and steel are rare. There are too many jobs and not enough workers. Money is very easy to earn, but rather hard to spend, because there isn't very much to buy. Trains are always late and always crowded with servicemen. The war will always be fought very far from America, and it will never end. Nothing in America stands still for very long, including the people, who are always either leaving or on leave. People in America cry often. 16 is the key, and crucial, and natural age for a human being to be. And people of all other ages are arranged in an orderly manner ahead of and behind you, as a harmonious setting for the 16-year-olds of this world. When you are 16, adults are slightly impressed and almost intimidated by you. This is a puzzle, finally solved by the realization that they foresee your military future, fighting for them. You do not foresee it. To waste anything in America is immoral. String and tinfoil are treasures. Newspapers are always crowded with strange maps and names of towns. Every few months, the earth seems to lurch from its path when you see something in the newspapers, such as the time Mussolini, who had almost seemed one of the eternal leaders, his photograph hanging upside down on a meat hook. Everyone listens to newscasts 5 or 6 times every day. All pleasurable things, all travel, and sports, and entertainment, and good food, and fine clothes, are in the very shortest supply, always were and always will be. There are just tiny fragments of pleasure and luxury in the world, and there's something unpatriotic about enjoying them. All foreign lands are inaccessible except to servicemen. They are vague, distant, sealed off as though behind a curtain of plastic. The prevailing color of life in America is a dull, dark green called olive drab. That color is always respectable and always important. Most other colors risk being unpatriotic. It is a special America, a very untypical one, I guess, an unfamiliar, transitional blur in the memories of most people, which is the real America for me. In that short-lived and special country, we spent this summer at Devon when Finney achieved certain feats as an athlete. In such a period, no one notices or rewards any achievements involving the body unless the result is to kill it or save it on the battlefield. So there were only a few of us to applaud and wonder at what he was able to do. One day, he broke the school swimming record. He and I were fooling around in the pool near a big bronze plaque marked with events for which the school kept records. 50 yards, 100 yards, 220 yards. Under each was a slot with a marker fitted into it, showing the name of the record holder, his year, and his time. Under 100 yards freestyle, there was A. Hopkins Parker, 1940. 53.0 seconds. A. Hopkins Parker? Finney squinted up at the name. I don't remember any A. Hopkins Parker. He graduated before we got here. You mean that record has been up there the whole time we've been at Devon? And nobody's busted it yet? It was an insult to the class. And Finney had tremendous loyalty to the class, as he did to any group he belonged to, beginning with him and me, and radiating outward, past the limits of humanity, towards spirits, and clouds, and stars. No one else happened to be in the pool. Around us gleamed white tile and glass brick. The green, artificial-looking water rocked gently in its shining basin, releasing vague chemical smells and a sense of many pipes and filters. Even Finney's voice, trapped in this closed, high-ceilinged room, lost its special resonance and blurred into a general well of noise gathered up toward the ceiling. He said blurringly, I have a feeling I can swim faster than A. Hopkins Parker. We found a stopwatch in the office. He mounted a starting box, leaned forward from the waist as he had seen racing swimmers do, but never had occasion to do himself. I noticed a preparatory looseness coming into his shoulders and arms, a controlled ease about his stance, which was unexpected in anyone trying to break a record. I said, on your mark, go. There was a complex moment when his body uncoiled and shot forward with sudden metallic tension. He planed up the pool, his shoulders dominating the water, while his legs and feet rode so low that I couldn't distinguish them. A wake rippled hurriedly by him, and then at the end of the pool his position broke. He relaxed, dived, an instant's confusion, and then his suddenly and metallically tense body shot back toward the other end of the pool. Another turn and up the pool again. I noticed no particular slackening of his pace. Another turn. Down the pool again. His hand touched the end, and he looked up at me with a composed, interested expression. Well, how did I do? I looked at the watch. He had broken A. Hopkins Parker's record by 0.7 seconds. My God. So I really did it. You know what? I thought I was going to do it. Felt as though I had that stopwatch in my head and I could hear myself going just a little bit faster than A. Hopkins Parker. The worst thing is there weren't any witnesses, and I'm no official timekeeper. I don't think it will count. Well, of course it won't count. You can try it again and break it again. Tomorrow. We'll get the coach in here, and all the official timekeepers, and I'll call up the Devonian to send a reporter and a photographer. I climbed out of the pool. I'm not going to do it again, he said quietly. Of course you are. No, I just wanted to see if I could do it. Now I know. I don't want to do it in public. Some other swimmers drifted in through the door. Finney glanced sharply at them. By the way, he said, in an even more subdued voice, we aren't going to talk about this. It's just between you and me. Don't say anything about it to, anyone. Not say anything about it. When you broke the school record? Shh. He shot a blazing, agitated glance at me. I stopped and looked at him up and down. He didn't look directly back at me. You're too good to be true, I said after a while. He glanced at me, and then he said, thanks a lot, in a somewhat expressionless voice. Was he trying to impress me or something? Not tell anybody. When he'd broken a school record without a day of practice? I knew he was serious about it, so I didn't tell anybody. Perhaps for that reason, his accomplishment took root in my mind and grew rapidly in the darkness where I was forced to hide it. The Devon school record books contained a mistake, a lie, and nobody knew it but Finney and me. A. Hopkins Parker was living in a fool's paradise wherever he was. defeated name remained in bronze on the school record plaque, while Finney deliberately evaded an athletic honor. It was true that he had many already. The Winslow Galbraith Memorial Football Trophy for having brought the most Christian sportsmanship to the game during the 1941-42 season. The Margaret Duke Bonaventura ribbon and prize for the student who conducted himself at hockey most like the way her son had done. The Devon School Contact Sport Award, presented each year to that student who, in the opinion of the athletic advisors, excels his fellows in the sportsmanlike performance of any game involving bodily contact. But these were in the past. They were prizes, not school records. The sports Finney played officially, football, hockey, baseball, lacrosse, didn't have school records. To switch to a new sport suddenly, just for a day, and immediately break a record in it, that was about as neat a trick, as dazzling a reversal as I could, to be perfectly honest, possibly imagine. There was something inebriating in the suppleness of his feet. When I thought about it, my head felt a little dizzy, and my stomach began to tingle. It had, in one word, glamour. Absolute schoolboy glamour. When I looked down at that stopwatch and realized, a split second before I permitted my face to show it, or my voice to announce it, that Finney had broken a school record, I had experienced a feeling that also can be described in one word: shock. To keep silent about this amazing happening deepened the shock for me. It made Finney seem too unusual for, not friendship, too unusual for rivalry. And there were few relationships among us at Devon not based on rivalry. Swimming in pools is screwy anyway, he said, after a long, unusual silence, as we walked toward the dormitory. The only real swimming is in the ocean. Then, in the everyday, mediocre tone he used, when he was proposing something really outrageous, he added, "Let's go to the beach." The beach was hours away by bicycle, forbidden, completely out of all bounds. Going there risked expulsion, destroyed the studying I was going to do for an important test the next morning, blasted the reasonable amount of order I wanted to maintain in my life, and it also involved the kind of long, labored bicycle ride I hated. "All right," I said. We got our bikes and slipped away from Devon along a back road. Having invited me, Finney now felt he had to keep me entertained. He told long, wild stories about his childhood. As I pumped panting up steep hills, he glided along beside me, joking steadily. He analyzed my character, and he insisted on knowing what I disliked most about him. "You're too conventional," I said. He rode backwards with no hands. He rode on his own handlebars. He jumped off and back on his moving bicycle, as he had seen trick horseback riders do in the movies. He sang. Despite the steady musical undertone in his speaking voice, Phineas couldn't carry a tune, and he couldn't remember the melody or the words to any song. But he loved listening to music, any music, and he liked to sing. We reached the beach late in the afternoon. The tide was high, and the surf was heavy. I dived in and rode a couple of waves, but they had reached that stage of power in which you could feel the whole strength of the ocean in them. The second wave, as it tore toward the beach with me, spewed me a little ahead of it, encroaching rapidly. Suddenly it was immeasurably bigger than I was. It rushed me from the control of gravity and took control of me itself. The wave threw me down in a primitive plunge, without a bottom. And then there was a bottom, grinding sand, and I skidded onto the shore. The wave hesitated, balanced there, and then hissed back toward the deep water, its tentacles not quite interested enough in me to drag me with it. I made my way up on the beach and lay down. Finney came, ceremoniously took my pulse, and then went back into the ocean. He stayed in for an hour, breaking off every few minutes to come back to me and talk. The sand was so hot from the all-day sunshine that I had to brush the top layer away in order to lie down on it. And Finney's progress across the beach became a series of high, startled leaps. The ocean, throwing up foaming sun sprays across some nearby rocks, was winter cold. This kind of sunshine and ocean, with the accumulating roar of the surf and the salty, adventurous, flirting wind from the sea, always intoxicated Phineas. And he was everywhere. He enjoyed himself hugely. He laughed out loud at passing seagulls. And he did everything he could think of for me. We had dinner at a hot dog stand, with our backs to the ocean and its now cooler wind, our faces toward the heat of the cooking range. Then we walked on toward the center of the beach, where there was a subdued New England strip of honky-tonks. The boardwalk lights against the deepening blue sky gained an ideal, starry beauty, and the lights from the belt of honky-tonks and shooting galleries and beer gardens gleamed with a quiet purity in the clear twilight. Finney and I went along the boardwalk in our sneakers and white slacks. Finney in a light blue polo shirt and I in a t-shirt. I noticed that people were looking fixedly at him, so I took a look myself to see why. His skin radiated a reddish copper glow of tan. His brown hair had been a little bleached by the sun, and I noticed that the tan made his eyes shine with a cool, blue-green fire. "Everybody's staring at you," he suddenly said to me. "It's because of that movie star tan you picked up this afternoon. Showing off again." Enough broken rules were enough that night. Neither of us suggested going into any of the honky-tonks or beer gardens. We did have one glass of beer each at a fairly respectable-looking bar, convincing or seeming to convince the bartender that we were old enough by a show of forged draft cards. Then we found a good spot among some sand dunes at the lonely end of the beach, and there we settled down to sleep for the night. The last words of Finney's usual nighttime monologue were, "I hope you're having a pretty good time here. I know I kind of dragged you away at the point of a gun, but after all, you can't come to the shore with just anybody, and you can't come by yourself. In this teenage period in life, the proper person is your best pal." He hesitated and then added, "Which is what you are." And there was silence on his dune. It was a courageous thing to say. Exposing a sincere emotion nakedly like that at the Devon school was the next thing to suicide. I should have told him then that he was my best friend also, and rounded off what he had said. I started to. I nearly did. Something held me back. Perhaps I was stopped by that level of feeling, deeper than thought, which contains the truth. They said